It started with a blinding flash across the Moscow skyline, a scene so unexpected that even the Russian capital's tight-lipped media couldn't hide it. In the dead of night, Ukrainian drones pierced the supposedly impregnable airspace of Moscow, striking one of the city's most high-profile business towers, a structure worth over $1.2 billion and home to several key Russian ministries and intelligence-linked companies. The explosion shook not just the capital, but the Kremlin's sense of security itself. Witnesses described a roaring blaze consuming the glass facades as alarms wailed through the financial heart of Russia. It was not just an attack on a building, it was a message, a symbol of defiance sent straight to Vladimir Putin's doorstep. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. For years, Moscow's skyline has stood as a symbol of Russian strength, an untouchable power, gleaming skyscrapers rising above a nation defined by its wars, wealth, and propaganda. But on that night, the illusion cracked. The attack was precise, methodical, and devastating. The drones, believed to be Ukrainian long-range models, flew hundreds of kilometers undetected. Russian air defenses, despite boasting the best radar systems and missile interceptors, failed spectacularly. Within minutes, one of the capital's most secure zones turned into a firestorm. Flames lit up the night sky as emergency crews scrambled through streets littered with glass and debris. What made this strike extraordinary wasn't just the damage, but the target itself. The towers housed offices linked to Russia's Ministry of Digital Development, Ministry of Economic Affairs, and several private contractors connected to military technology. Western analysts believe this wasn't a random choice, it was a calculated strike designed to disrupt the networks supporting Russia's war machine in Ukraine. Kyiv had sent a message loud and clear: nowhere, not even Moscow's proud skyline, was beyond reach. In the hours following the explosion, Russian state media tried desperately to contain the narrative. The Ministry of Defense issued a brief, heavily censored statement claiming that several drones were intercepted and that minor damage occurred. But leaked videos told a different story. Fire engulfed multiple floors of the skyscraper and windows shattered for blocks. On Russian social media, panic spread rapidly before posts were deleted or restricted. For the first time, ordinary Muscovites realized what Ukrainians have endured for nearly 2 years: the sound of drones in the night and the terror that follows. The symbolism was impossible to ignore. The very heart of Russian modernity, Moscow city, had been struck. It was as if Kyiv had chosen not just a military target, but a psychological one. The attack said, "You brought the war to us, now we bring it back to you." Analysts in Europe and the U.S. were quick to note the timing. The strike came days after Russia launched one of its heaviest bombardments on Ukrainian cities, using over 40 cruise missiles and dozens of Iranian-made Shahd drones. Kyiv's response was both swift and strategic. Instead of targeting the front lines, Ukraine hit deep into Russian territory, showing the world that its intelligence and technology capabilities had evolved dramatically. But how did Ukraine pull it off? The answer lies in months of quiet preparation and innovation. Ukrainian engineers, working with minimal resources, developed a new generation of long-range drones capable of flying more than 1,000 kilometers with GPS-guided precision. These drones, assembled in secret facilities, are light, stealthy, and built with a combination of imported and domestically produced components. Unlike conventional aircraft, they fly low and fast, often slipping under radar coverage. Sources within the Ukrainian military hinted that these were part of Kyiv's newly expanded Deep Strike initiative, a program aimed at taking the fight directly to Russia's strategic assets. The Kremlin's response was both furious and fearful. President Vladimir Putin, reportedly briefed within minutes, held an emergency security meeting by dawn. Russian officials called the attacks terrorism, accusing NATO of helping Ukraine plan the mission. Yet behind closed doors, even Russian insiders admitted the obvious: Moscow's defenses were crumbling under modern warfare's new rules. No matter how much money Russia poured into air defense systems like the S-400, they couldn't stop small, smart, and agile drones. In the days that followed, satellite images revealed the extent of the destruction. Several office floors in the $1.2 billion tower were completely gutted. Insurance analysts estimated damages exceeding $80 million. More importantly, the servers and communication nodes destroyed in the blast reportedly housed sensitive government data, including logistics and digital communication systems used to manage the war effort. That loss, according to Western intelligence, dealt a significant operational blow to Russia's cyber and command networks. Russian citizens, meanwhile, were left stunned. State television tried to shift attention by broadcasting patriotic music and reruns of Soviet war films. But the fear had already taken hold. For decades, Moscow was considered untouchable, the heart of a vast empire shielded by layers of military might. Now that illusion was gone. Social media clips of burning skyscrapers circulated widely, accompanied by captions reading, "The war has come home." The international community watched closely. Some Western officials publicly downplayed their involvement, while others quietly applauded Ukraine's boldness. NATO sources suggested that while no direct Western technology was used in the strike, intelligence sharing likely played a role. The message was strategic. Russia could no longer wage war without consequences within its own borders. For Ukraine, the success was more than symbolic. It represented a shift in momentum, proof that the country could strike deep, disrupt, and destabilize Russia's psychological and logistical backbone. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, while not directly claiming responsibility, hinted in a late-night address that the war's geography is changing. His tone was defiant, his words deliberate. The attack, he suggested, was only the beginning. As the smoke cleared over Moscow City, discussions intensified about what this meant for the future of warfare. Military experts around the world began calling it the dawn of a new era where small, affordable drones could rival billion-dollar defense systems. The traditional balance of power was shifting. Instead of tanks and fighter jets, wars were now being decided by intelligence, innovation, and precision technology. Inside Russia, paranoia grew. Security checkpoints multiplied across Moscow. Anti-drone jammers were installed on rooftops, and rumors spread of secret evacuation plans for government officials. Citizens began questioning their safety, wondering if more attacks were coming. The psychological impact was enormous. Every sound in the night, every hum in the distance, became a source of fear. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, morale soared. Social media filled with celebratory posts, memes, and national pride. To many Ukrainians, this wasn't just revenge, it was justice. After countless nights under missile attacks, Kyiv had shown the world it could strike back, and strike effectively. Behind the scenes, Russian intelligence agencies scrambled to trace the attack's origin. The Federal Security Service (FSB) claimed to have intercepted drone fragments and alleged they were made using Western parts. However, experts dismissed those claims as propaganda. Independent analysts found that most components used in Ukraine's drones were commercially available, a testament to Ukraine's ingenuity under pressure. In Washington, London, and Brussels, policymakers debated the implications. Would Russia escalate further, perhaps by targeting Ukrainian leadership or launching cyber attacks on European infrastructure? Or would the Kremlin be forced to accept that its aura of invincibility had been shattered? The consensus was clear. Moscow was now on the defensive, both militarily and psychologically. The attack also had a major economic fallout. Investors in Russian real estate panicked, leading to sudden dips in property values across central Moscow. Foreign companies still operating in Russia began reconsidering their presence. Insurance firms refused to cover new construction projects within the city's business district, citing unpredictable security risks. The economic ripple effect was staggering. What started as a drone strike quickly evolved into a multi-billion-dollar financial shockwave. As the investigation continued, reports emerged suggesting that the tower had not only government offices, but also private defense contractors who played a key role in Russia's missile development programs. This revelation added a darker layer, suggesting Ukraine's strike wasn't just symbolic, but a targeted move against those directly enabling the war. Western intelligence confirmed that several firms housed there were on international sanctions lists for supplying military grade technology to the Russian army. that made the attack both strategic and justified under wartime conditions. Yet, amid the wreckage and smoldering ruins, one thing became clear: this war had entered a new and unpredictable phase. Russia could no longer dictate where the front lines were. The front had shifted to its own capital, its own symbols, and its own pride. Days later, Putin appeared on television, his expression hard and measured. He vowed swift retribution, and promised that those responsible would face consequences. But his speech, analysts noted, lacked confidence. His words sounded rehearsed, defensive, a man grappling with a reality he never expected. The Russian leader who once boasted about striking Kyiv within minutes was now facing strikes in his own backyard. As tensions rose, Ukraine's allies quietly urged restraint. NATO nations feared that too many deep strikes into Russia could provoke an uncontrolled escalation, but Kyiv seemed undeterred. Officials from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry suggested that more such operations were inevitable unless Russia ceased its relentless bombardments of civilian areas. By week's end, international think tanks and intelligence agencies were united on one conclusion: the attack on Moscow's towers marked a psychological turning point. For the first time since the war began, Russia's capital was no longer a sanctuary. The balance of fear had shifted. Even within Russia, cracks began to appear. Influential bloggers and military commentators, usually loyal to the Kremlin, started questioning the effectiveness of Russia's defenses. If drones can fly into the heart of Moscow, one wrote, what does that say about our army? The Kremlin tried to silence these voices, but the questions lingered, dangerous, unanswerable questions. As weeks passed, new satellite imagery revealed reconstruction work beginning at the damaged towers. But experts noted that rebuilding wouldn't be easy. The materials, technology, and insurance needed for such repairs were all affected by Western sanctions. Even rebuilding had become a symbol of Russia's isolation. Meanwhile, Ukraine continued refining its drone programs, working on longer ranges and more advanced guidance systems. Each successful mission boosted its confidence and rattled Moscow's stability. This attack wasn't just another headline, it was a defining moment in the evolution of modern warfare. The $1.2 billion tower that once symbolized Russian prosperity now stood as a monument to vulnerability. In that smoldering wreckage lay the truth: no fortress is truly safe when the battlefield expands beyond borders, when innovation outpaces arrogance. As analysts put it, Ukraine's message to the world was unmistakable: it would not be intimidated. It would not remain on the defensive, and it would continue to strike where it hurts most. The coming months will reveal whether Moscow can adapt or whether Ukraine's new long-range strategy will continue to expose the weaknesses of an empire once thought invincible. But one thing is certain: the war has changed forever. The skyline of Moscow will never look the same again, not just in its architecture, but in its meaning. Every glass panel reflects a nation's fear. Every flame that once rose from the towers, a reminder that even power has limits. The attack on Moscow's $1.2 billion towers was more than a military strike. It was a statement written in fire and steel: the war has come home.